Amelia had always seen the Rosewood Country Club as her second home, a place where she learned to swim, attended charity galas with her father, and celebrated every major milestone of her life. Now pregnant with her first child, she hoped this sanctuary would one day become special for her baby as well. Her father, Richard Hale, one of the club's founding members, remained a pillar of respect among its elite members. Whenever Amelia walked through the grand lobby, attendants greeted her by name, longtime members smiled warmly, and even the board members went out of their way to ensure she felt safe and cherished. Her marriage to Edward, at least in public, appeared flawless. Edward enjoyed the admiration that came with being married to Richard Hale's daughter, doors opened for him, business deals were easier to secure, and his presence at the club elevated his social standing. Amelia tried to ignore the subtle shift in his behavior over recent months, attributing it to work stress. She clung to the belief that once their baby arrived, things would naturally fall into place and Edward would soften again. Despite the slight distance growing between them, she continued visiting the country club. The environment reassured her, and she enjoyed the calming presence of people who had watched her grow up. Everyone adored her, treating her like royalty, though she never acted entitled. The staff whispered about how kind-hearted she was, nothing like many of the arrogant wealthy wives who frequented the club. Even with all the luxuries surrounding her, the manicured lawns, crystal chandeliers, and exclusive events, Amelia never lost her gentle nature. She pushed aside her uncertainties about Edward because she believed family came first. But beneath the polished world of Rosewood, silent tensions and hidden rumors were quietly building, ready to shatter her sense of security. The first signs were subtle: missed calls, unusually late nights at the office, and a growing habit of stepping outside whenever his phone rang. Amelia tried to convince herself it was normal, that pregnancy had simply made her more sensitive. But Edward's behavior only grew stranger. He guarded his phone like a secret vault, keeping it on silent and face down at all times. Even his tone changed. Once warm and patient, he had become curt, dismissive, and strangely cold whenever she asked harmless questions. She noticed he didn't look her in the eyes as often. He claimed important clients were demanding more of his time, but Amelia had lived with him long enough to sense when he was lying. The man who once kissed her forehead every morning now left the house without a word, and when he returned, he often smelled faintly of a perfume she didn't recognize, floral, expensive, distinctly not hers. Rumors started drifting her way at the club. Two older members who adored Amelia mentioned seeing Edward with a young woman they didn't recognize, slender, confident, and overly comfortable around him. Amelia forced a polite smile, pretending she wasn't bothered. Gossip traveled fast in elite spaces, and she refused to let whispers undermine her marriage without proof. But as the days passed, doubt settled into her mind like a shadow. Edward became increasingly insistent that she avoid the club. He claimed the environment was too stressful for her pregnancy, which made no sense. The club had always been her safe space, and he knew it. His sudden dislike of her visiting raised alarms, especially since her father's friends could easily notice any unusual behavior. The more Edward pushed her away from Rosewood, the more Amelia began to suspect he was hiding something he desperately didn't want exposed. Cassandra's arrival in Edward's life is like a storm Amelia never saw coming. Unlike Amelia's quiet grace, Cassandra thrives on attention, loud laughter, dramatic gestures, and a constant need to be noticed. She met Edward during one of his supposed work trips, and from the moment she realized he was wealthy, married, and influential, she became determined to claim him for herself. Her obsession quickly moved beyond romance. She wanted Edward's lifestyle, his status, his money, and most importantly, the position Amelia occupied so effortlessly. Every time Edward postponed conversations about divorce, Cassandra's fury grew hotter. She believed Amelia was the only obstacle between her and the life she felt entitled to. Cassandra knew Edward loved the admiration he received from her. She exploited that, telling him she could offer what Amelia, pregnant and exhausted, could not. As the pregnancy progressed, Cassandra's jealousy only intensified. The thought of Edward's child, a permanent tie between him and Amelia, filled her with paranoia. She convinced herself that Amelia was purposely using the baby to keep Edward. Her reckless personality didn't stay hidden long. When she first stepped foot in the Rosewood Country Club, uninvited, members instantly recognized trouble. She carried herself with smug arrogance, barking orders at staff, unaware or uncaring that every employee knew and respected Amelia. They exchanged knowing glances every time Cassandra strutted past in bold colors and heavy perfume, trying to leave a mark wherever she walked. Conversations among members became tense as they whispered about her sudden appearances. Cassandra mistook their disapproval for jealousy, not realizing she was insulting a space that practically raised Amelia. Her insecurity made her impulsive, pushing her to escalate far faster than Edward expected, setting the stage for an inevitable confrontation. Cassandra's jealousy spiraled when she realized Amelia still visited the Rosewood Country Club regularly, often walking slowly alongside her elderly father, enjoying the calm comfort of a place filled with childhood memories. To Cassandra, it felt like Amelia was flaunting her presence, although Amelia was simply living her normal routine. Cassandra began arriving at the club intentionally, timing her visits to overlap with Amelia's. Her entrances were loud and theatrical, her outfits deliberately provocative, and her behavior designed to draw attention. Every glance Amelia received from longtime members felt like a personal attack to Cassandra. Edward tried, unsuccessfully, to manage Cassandra's emotions. He met her in quiet corners of the parking lot or behind closed doors in his office, begging her to be patient. But Cassandra interpreted every delay as refusal. She wanted Amelia out of the picture before the baby arrived, convinced that once the child was born, Edward would never leave. Her resentment matured into rage, and she began creating scenes at the club, complaining about service, making rude comments, and trying to insert herself into conversations among members who barely tolerated her. Club members noticed immediately. Rosewood was strict about etiquette, and Cassandra violated every unspoken rule. Some discreetly informed Richard Hale, expressing concern that a disruptive woman was causing problems. Richard sensed the deeper problem instantly. Although he chose not to tell Amelia, knowing stress could harm her, his worry grew as reports increased. Staff members began walking discreetly behind Amelia when she moved around the club, keeping watch just in case Cassandra appeared again. Even the elderly members, who doted on Amelia, kept an eye on every corner. Cassandra, however, mistook their vigilance for hostility, feeding the dangerous fire growing inside her. Amelia tries to maintain her calm, but the world around her slowly begins to crumble. She often hears fragments of conversations drifting through the women's lounge at the country club, whispers about Edward being seen dining with another woman in a dim corner of a nearby restaurant, rumors of heated arguments he had in the club's parking lot, and quiet murmurs about an unfamiliar woman clinging too closely to him during a recent charity event. Amelia pretends not to hear, offering polite smiles, but each whispered sentence cuts through her like a blade. She feels her heartbeat quicken every time someone glances at her with pity, making her wonder what they know that she doesn't. Despite the unease twisting in her stomach, Amelia avoids confronting Edward. She fears the stress could harm her baby. Every doctor's visit reminds her how fragile this phase of her life is, especially with her recent fatigue and occasional dizziness. Instead, she confides in her best friend, Lauren, who listens without judgment. Lauren gently urges her to stay cautious and emotionally guarded, reminding her that intuition shouldn't be ignored. Although Amelia wants to believe Edward is simply stressed from work, deep down she knows something darker is unfolding. Her anxiety shifts her behavior. She becomes more observant, noticing unfamiliar cars outside her home, detecting quick glances exchanged between staff members, and feeling a strange tension whenever Edward's phone buzzes. To manage her spiraling thoughts, she begins writing everything down in a small leather-bound journal: dates, behaviors, odd comments, and moments that made her uneasy. She doesn't know it yet, but these private notes will eventually become vital evidence when the truth fully unravels, protecting not only her but also her unborn child. The day of the confrontation begins innocently enough. Amelia joins her father for a quiet lunch at the country club, hoping fresh air and gentle company will ease the heaviness in her chest. She walks slowly beside Richard, her hand resting on her growing belly, grateful for a rare moment of peace. But peace shatters the moment Cassandra spots them from across the courtyard. Consumed by insecurity, Cassandra convinces herself that Amelia's presence is a deliberate attempt to challenge her, an effort to claim Edward publicly. Cassandra storms toward them, her heels clacking sharply across the stone pathway. Her expression is twisted with jealousy. Amelia immediately senses danger and attempts to step aside, not wanting a scene. But Cassandra blocks her path, her voice rising with venom. She hurls accusations, insisting Edward belongs to her now, claiming Amelia is manipulating him with the pregnancy. Amelia tries to remain calm, urging Cassandra to lower her voice, reminding her gently that this is neither the time nor the place. But Cassandra is past reasoning. She steps closer, invading Amelia's space, her insults drawing attention from all directions. Club members freeze mid-conversation, shocked to witness such crude behavior in an institution known for elegance and restraint. Staff members tense, unsure whether to intervene. Richard moves protectively toward his daughter, but he hesitates, hoping Cassandra will calm down on her own. Instead, Cassandra continues, her shouting echoing beneath the arches as she accuses Amelia of being weak, manipulative, and unworthy of Edward. The onlookers' disapproving stares only fuel her rage. Amelia tries once more to walk away, clutching her belly, but Cassandra steps in front of her again, closer, louder, more unhinged than anyone expected. Cassandra's anger snaps like a breaking branch. With adrenaline rushing through her, she looks around wildly and spots a golf bag leaning against a nearby bench. Before anyone can understand her intent, she lunges toward it and snatches a golf club from the bag. Gasps shoot through the air, but everything happens too quickly for anyone to stop her. With a scream of pure rage, Cassandra swings the club in a wide arc directly toward Amelia. The metal strikes Amelia's abdomen with a sickening thud. The force sends her collapsing onto the ground as a cry of agony tears from her throat. In that instant, the world around them erupts. Several club members shout in horror, rushing forward. Richard drops to his knees beside his daughter, trembling, shouting for help. Two men grab Cassandra from behind, wrestling the club out of her hands as she thrashes and spits curses, still convinced she has done nothing wrong. Amelia lies curled on the ground, clutching her stomach, tears streaming down her face as waves of pain pulse through her body. Staff members sprint to call emergency services while others form a protective circle around her. Cassandra continues screaming Edward's name, completely devoid of remorse, her voice echoing across the pristine country club grounds. The serene atmosphere of Rosewood shatters, replaced by panic, fury, and disbelief as the consequences of Cassandra's violent jealousy come crashing into reality. The peaceful afternoon at Rosewood Country Club transforms into instant pandemonium. Screams echo across the courtyard as members rush forward, unsure where to focus, on Amelia writhing in pain or Cassandra, still being restrained by furious witnesses. Richard collapses to his knees beside Amelia, his hands shaking uncontrollably as he tries to steady her trembling body. He whispers reassurances, though his voice cracks with terror. Staff members frantically call for an ambulance, their hands shaking as they relay the urgency of the situation. Elderly board members, men who had known Amelia since childhood, storm toward Cassandra with outrage etched across their faces. They scold her for her barbaric behavior, their voices stern yet trembling with shock. Some members instinctively pull out their phones, recording the aftermath, not for gossip, but to ensure Amelia has evidence against Cassandra and Edward. Several women rush to Richard's side, offering support, tissues, and steady hands as he struggles not to break down. Others form a protective shield around Amelia, blocking Cassandra from even being in her line of sight. The courtyard, once a symbol of elegance and safety, now feels tainted by violence and fear. Club employees scatter to manage the chaos, directing people away, grabbing blankets, and ushering children indoors. The atmosphere is thick with panic, disbelief, and heartbreak as everyone awaits the sound of approaching sirens that cannot come soon enough. Minutes later, paramedics arrive and quickly load Amelia onto a stretcher. Richard climbs into the ambulance beside her, gripping her hand like a lifeline. Amelia cries softly, her breath short and panicked. She fears the worst, that the violent strike could have harmed her baby. Richard tries to remain calm, brushing her hair from her face, repeating that she is strong and help is right here. but his eyes reveal his terror. As the ambulance speeds through traffic, Amelia feels sharp pains pulse through her abdomen. She fights tears, battling guilt that she couldn't protect her unborn child from Cassandra's madness. At the hospital, doctors rush her into the emergency department, performing rapid assessments and an urgent ultrasound. Cold gel spreads across her stomach as Amelia stares at the ceiling, praying silently. The medical team works with precision, checking fetal movement, monitoring her vitals, and addressing possible internal bleeding. Nurses speak gently to her, reminding her to breathe as they prepare 4 lines and pain management. Meanwhile, Richard stands outside the room, pacing anxiously, speaking with detectives who arrive to document the assault. He gives them every detail he witnessed, insisting Cassandra be held fully accountable. Cassandra herself is detained back at the club by private security, where authorities are on their way to arrest her. Word spreads among club members like wildfire, text chains, calls, whispered updates. Many gather outside the hospital, hoping for good news, united in prayer and outrage. Amelia's safety becomes the community's priority as fear settles heavily over her fate and that of her child. Edward arrives at the hospital nearly an hour later, unaware of the severity until multiple club members call him in shock. He rushes inside, trying to appear frantic and concerned, but his act crumbles instantly when Richard spots him. Richard storms toward him with a fury Edward has never seen, shouting demands for an explanation. Edward stammers excuses, claiming Cassandra misunderstood things, insisting he had the situation handled, and denying any wrongdoing. But the lies unravel in seconds as witnesses step forward. Several board members, staff, and even younger club attendees reveal they overheard Cassandra shouting about being with Edward, about him promising her a future, and about Amelia getting in the way. The truth corners Edward. His face drains as he realizes Cassandra has exposed everything he tried to hide. He tries to deny the relationship, but the witnesses' accounts match perfectly. Desperate, he attempts to shift blame, insisting Cassandra was unstable and he had been trying to end things. No one believes him. His hypocrisy becomes undeniable when one member reveals Edward had been seen sneaking Cassandra into his car multiple times. Determined to see Amelia, Edward pushes toward her room, but the nurses immediately block him. "She doesn't want to see you," one states firmly. Amelia, from inside, had already made her wishes clear. Edward is not to step near her. The rejection shakes him, and he begins pacing wildly, demanding to speak to her, insisting she needs him. But Richard stands firmly between them, stating that Edward has done enough damage and will not hurt his daughter again. Edward is left standing in the hallway, powerless as his world collapses around him. Police arrive at the Rosewood Country Club with urgency, immediately requesting statements from everyone present during the attack. Many of the members, having known Amelia since childhood and being close friends or longtime associates of her father, willingly step forward to ensure the truth is fully exposed. Their loyalty is not based on bias but on the undeniable clarity of what they witnessed. Several elderly board members recount seeing Cassandra shouting at Amelia before grabbing the golf club. Others describe the fear and chaos that followed. Meanwhile, security personnel provide officers with footage from multiple cameras positioned around the courtyard. The recorded clip clearly shows Cassandra's sudden, violent swing and Amelia collapsing in agony. As statements are collected, the club's administration takes swift, decisive action. Cassandra is immediately suspended and permanently banned from entry pending legal outcomes. Edward receives an official conduct review notice, as the board deems his behavior scandalous and deeply damaging to the club's long-standing reputation. Lawyers representing the Hale family begin organizing a comprehensive case. They gather Amelia's medical reports, witness testimonies, and club footage to build a solid foundation for pressing criminal charges. Detectives speak with Richard, who provides emotional but precise information about the incident and Cassandra's confrontation. Throughout the investigation, officers express concern for Amelia's vulnerable condition as a pregnant victim of assault. They make clear that the severity of the charges will reflect the danger Cassandra inflicted. Word spreads rapidly among the club's elite community, and most members show unwavering support, promising to testify if needed. The investigation quickly becomes a turning point, shifting the narrative from chaos to accountability, ensuring the incident will not be dismissed as a mere disagreement but treated as the criminal act it truly was. Cassandra is brought into police custody, still shaken from being restrained at the club. Desperate to salvage her situation, she immediately attempts to twist the story, claiming Amelia provoked her and even suggesting the pregnant woman had attacked her first. But investigators see through her fabricated tale as soon as they review the overwhelming evidence. Witnesses describe Cassandra's jealousy, hostility, and aggressive behavior. Security footage exposes the truth unmistakably: Amelia never raised a hand or voice. Cassandra was the sole aggressor. When confronted with the video, Cassandra becomes visibly frantic, stumbling over her words as she tries to reshape her lies into something believable. But nothing helps. Her actions are clearly caught on camera, and her recorded shouts about Edward only intensify her guilt. Police proceed to formally charge her with assault, reckless endangerment, and attempted harm to an unborn child, serious offenses that carry significant prison time. As news spreads, Cassandra's reputation collapses overnight. Former acquaintances distance themselves, disgusted by her violent behavior. Seeking help, she desperately tries calling Edward, expecting him to defend her or provide legal support. But Edward, terrified for his own reputation, refuses to answer her calls and blocks her number entirely. Suddenly abandoned, Cassandra realizes she is utterly alone. The impulsive, jealous rage that fueled her actions now becomes the downfall that destroys her future. Her once delusional dreams of replacing Amelia and living a glamorous life with Edward vanish instantly, replaced by the grim reality of consequences she can no longer escape. While Cassandra faces criminal charges, Edward's world begins collapsing in a different but equally devastating way. As news of the assault spreads through the club and eventually into business circles, Edward's facade of polished professionalism shatters. His business partners, worried about public backlash, quietly distance themselves. Investors begin withdrawing support, claiming they cannot afford to be associated with a man linked to violence, scandal, and infidelity. The prestigious Rosewood Country Club follows through with disciplinary action, sending Edward a notice threatening full membership termination pending investigation results. His family members, once proud of his accomplishments, express anger and disappointment. They condemn his reckless behavior, his betrayal of Amelia, and his involvement with someone as volatile as Cassandra. Meanwhile, Amelia's hospital records and the journal entries she kept about his suspicious behavior become crucial documentation, revealing a pattern of emotional neglect, secrecy, and manipulation. These entries help lawyers build a strong case demonstrating Edward's disregard for Amelia's safety long before the attack occurred. Trying to salvage what remains of his crumbling life, Edward attempts to reach out to Amelia, insisting he still cares for her and their unborn child. He begs for a chance to explain himself, but Amelia refuses. She instructs hospital staff to deny him access and makes it clear through her lawyers that she wants nothing to do with him. Legal advisors strongly recommend she file restraining orders, both for her safety and for the protection of her child. Edward is left standing outside Amelia's world, realizing too late that his lies, infidelity, and cowardice have destroyed everything he once took for granted. The courtroom is packed on the day of the hearing, drawing attention from the media and community because of the elite standing of the Rosewood Country Club and the respected Hale family name. Reporters linger in hallways, whispering about the scandal that has shaken one of the city's most influential circles. Amelia enters with quiet strength, supported by her father and legal team. Though still recovering physically and emotionally, she holds herself with dignity, determined to ensure justice is served not only for herself but for the safety of her unborn child. When called to testify, Amelia recounts the attack with remarkable composure. Her voice trembles at moments, but her truth remains unwavering. The courtroom listens intently as she describes Cassandra's aggression and the terror she felt when the golf club struck her abdomen. Her testimony is followed by a steady stream of club members, board directors, staff, old family friends, each condemning Cassandra's violent behavior and detailing Edward's infidelity, manipulation, and negligence leading up to the incident. Security footage is presented, leaving the courtroom in stunned silence as the moment of impact plays on the screens. Cassandra, sitting at the defense table, watches helplessly as irrefutable evidence dismantles her false statements. The prosecution emphasizes her jealousy-driven rage and reckless disregard for the life of a pregnant woman and unborn child. Edward is also called to the stand, where his evasive answers and visible discomfort only worsen the impression he makes. The judge rebukes him sharply for enabling and sustaining a toxic affair that contributed to such a dangerous outcome. In the final ruling, Cassandra is sentenced for assault and endangerment of an unborn child, while Edward's parental rights are temporarily restricted pending further evaluation. Amelia is granted full legal protection, including restraining orders, emergency custody safeguards, and guaranteed medical security. The verdict brings a wave of relief to Amelia and her family, marking the first major step toward reclaiming her life, safety, and peace. In the weeks following the courtroom battle, Amelia begins a slow but steady healing journey. Her doctors closely monitor her pregnancy, conducting frequent ultrasounds and evaluations to ensure her baby remains stable after the traumatic incident. Each appointment brings cautious relief, and although Amelia still experiences moments of fear, the reassuring words from her medical team help her regain confidence. The physical bruising fades gradually, but the emotional scars linger longer, requiring patience and understanding from those around her. Her family becomes her anchor during this period. Richard checks on her daily, sometimes sitting quietly beside her just to provide silent support. Her mother prepares nourishing meals to help maintain Amelia's strength, while close friends visit with gentle encouragement and calming company. Amelia slowly begins to rebuild her sense of safety within the warm, protective circle of those who love her most. Therapy becomes an essential part of her recovery. Speaking with a trauma counselor allows Amelia to process the betrayal, the attack, and the overwhelming fear she experienced. Through guided sessions, she learns grounding techniques, breathing exercises, and emotional strategies that help her regain control over her thoughts. She begins focusing on the future more than the past, turning her attention toward preparing a peaceful environment for her baby. She decorates the nursery, choosing soft colors and comforting textures, creating a space filled with hope and serenity. Though the trauma remains a part of her story, Amelia's resilience grows stronger each day. She realizes that despite the violence inflicted upon her, she survived, protected her child, and fought for justice. Her healing becomes more than recovery, it becomes a testament to her unbroken strength. In the aftermath of the incident, the Rosewood Country Club community rallies overwhelmingly behind Amelia. Members, many of whom watched her grow up within the club's walls, feel a deep sense of responsibility and remorse for not recognizing the warning signs earlier. Determined to make things right, they organize a series of charity events dedicated to supporting pregnant women facing domestic threats, raising funds for safety programs, medical care, and protective services. The club's board publicly apologizes to Amelia and her family for the distress caused by Cassandra's presence and assures them that new policies will be implemented to prevent such incidents in the future. This includes enhanced security measures, stricter guest regulations, and mandatory conduct reviews for all members. Amelia's father is approached by numerous longtime members offering personal apologies, each expressing their admiration for Amelia's courage and expressing regret that their beloved club became the backdrop of such trauma. As Amelia begins reappearing at the club for gentle strolls and family meals, she is welcomed with warmth and respect. Staff treat her with exceptional care, ensuring she feels safe and supported. Fellow members offer kindness, encouragement, and steadfast loyalty. Many view her not as a victim, but as a symbol of bravery, someone who endured violence, sought justice, and remained dignified through it all. Community leaders invite Amelia to speak informally about awareness and safety, not to relive her pain but to inspire change. She becomes a beloved figure at the club, admired for her calm strength, resilience, and grace despite the hardship she faced. The widespread support uplifts her spirit, reinforcing the belief that she is surrounded by people who value and protect her, helping her step confidently into the next chapter of her life. Amelia woke each morning now with a sense of calm she had never felt during her marriage. There was no more walking on eggshells, No more calculating the safest moment to speak, no more pretending everything was fine for the sake of appearances. Filing for divorce had been the most terrifying step she had ever taken, yet the relief that washed over her afterward made her wonder why she had waited so long. Edward, once the center of her world, now felt like a distant shadow. His calls had grown less frequent, his threats weaker, as if he sensed that the emotional strings he once pulled so easily had finally snapped. Instead of dread, Amelia found herself surrounded by warmth. Her family checked on her constantly, refusing to let her face anything alone, and the members of the country club embraced her with sincere support, reassuring her that her dignity and her family's legacy remained untouched. With every passing week, her confidence grew. She attended her prenatal appointments with pride, often accompanied by her mother or her cousin, who made sure she laughed more than she worried. Her home felt brighter, quieter, safer. She began preparing a nursery, choosing soft colors and delicate fabrics, imagining the day she would finally hold her child. As her due date approached, she found herself smiling more often, dreaming of bedtime stories, tiny hands wrapped around her fingers, and peaceful mornings untouched by chaos. The future no longer frightened her. Instead, it stretched before her like an open road, steady, hopeful, and hers to shape. For the first time in years, Amelia felt whole, knowing she and her baby would build a life rooted in love, security, and the freedom she had fought so hard to reclaim. Months later, Amelia welcomed her baby into the world, a beautiful, healthy child whose first cry felt like the closing of one chapter and the beginning of another. Holding the tiny, warm body against her chest, she felt a rush of emotions she could barely name. Relief, gratitude, love, and an overwhelming sense of triumph. She had survived. She had protected her child. She had rebuilt her life from the ashes of betrayal that once threatened to destroy her. As she rocked her newborn gently, Amelia thought back to the nights she cried alone, the moments she questioned her worth, the fear that Edward and Cassandra had deliberately fed. Now, all of it felt distant, like a long, dark tunnel she had finally emerged from. Cassandra's imprisonment ensured the danger she posed was gone, while Edward's legal restrictions kept him far from Amelia and the baby. The court had sided with her completely, recognizing the emotional and physical harm she endured. In the quiet moments of her new life, Amelia realized that justice hadn't been about revenge, it had been about reclaiming her power. The country club continued honoring the Hale family, offering unwavering protection and respect, ensuring she never felt isolated again. Members visited her with gifts, meals, and warm wishes, celebrating not just the baby's arrival but Amelia's resilience. Her story spread quietly among the community, becoming a reminder that even the most elegant facades can hide cruelty, and that women like Amelia, who choose courage over silence, can change their fate. As she looked at her baby's peaceful face, she whispered a promise, to raise this child with love, honesty, and strength. She had walked through betrayal and come out stronger than she ever imagined. Now, her life belonged to her, into the future she held in her arms.